Shall we wait for like a minute more? There are only two people on the. So, should we start? There are 5 people in the panel right now. Okay, I'm starting. So, everyone knows the protocol. Just for introduction, I'm Jobin Varughese, and I'm Jobin Varughese, and I'm part of this NPTEL course, basic course in Ornithology. Just running the 7th week right now, and as part of the PMRF, I'm doing this doubt clearing session for 2 hours every week, and so we'll start with our first OSHA. Sorry, just a second. All right. Sorry about that. I'll reshare the tab. Yeah. The first question is on your screen. Go ahead and answer. You can drop your answers on the chat box, and probably once a lot of people have answered, we can discuss. Okay, 4 people have answered. Harni has answered, Rishikesh has answered, Govind, Lakshmi, Anisha. Tarun, you can also try your, I mean, if you're, if you know the answer, you can just drop the option over here, or if you just want to try your luck, then you can do that. Okay. So what do people think that the answer is C, C, A, B, B. Okay. So what do we understand from the question? What is happening? For turnover, we need to track individual birds. Yes. Yes, Harini has given a hint, Tarun. You may want to rethink and rethink of an answer if possible. We need to track individual birds. Can we track individual birds in a point count? Like tracking individual birds is basically a bird. Suppose the bird is called Suresh. So tracking that particular Suresh bird and not confusing it with Harish bird. Sorry for the names, but I couldn't think of a better example right away.
But you can't tag all the kind of birds. It won't be fully covering. It might be a partial count only also.
But
how much efficacy can we achieve by tagging? If you are tracking particular species, only one species or 2 species at the max, we can do the tagging and misnetting and tagging and everything.
Okay.
But if the question is much more generalized, no, sir. So
Like
it's
what?
just a birds present in a plantation. That's all they have said. They haven't mentioned a species or 2 species or 3 species of birds.
Okay.
So for turnovers we have to tag the birds and then we have to count. Still, the question is much more of a broad sense, the generalized way. So you can't tag all the birds.
But what are you especially doing in A and B? You're doing the population table, whether the number of birds are same or not, at least of species. So suppose there are 5 bird species: a crow, pigeon. Not a crow. Crows, pigeons, mynas, bulbuls, and for malkoha, for example.
Okay.
So they remain. Each of them have 5, 5, 5 in the community.
Okay.
So, and you're trying to. What would you do if you're just trying to see the number of birds? You'll do point count and distance sampling, right?
Okay.
But how would you say that the crow number A is the same in the next year count?
Yeah, I understand, sir. We need to
tag all the birds. Yes.
Yeah, we can tag all the birds. We have to catch and tag all the birds of all the species. Like 5, at least minimum 5 birds they have to tag as a representative species.
Why would you say at least minimum 5 birds? Initially you were saying we have to tag all the birds possible, right?
No. Now I got the clarity, sir. Sorry, sir.
Okay. So what do you think the answer is there?
C, sir.
Just C?
Because D means I don't think there is a need for genetic analysis, sir. Like if we are tracking a particular species and their evolution and kind of such stuff, we might need genetic analysis steps.
Yeah, I
But
know. But can you ID the bird genetically as well?
of course, we can, sir. To the level of subspecies, also we can go.
No, to the
By
level of individual.
yeah. Uh, how, sir? I mean, how genetically to the level of individual?
I mean,
I'm sorry. If genetic analysis done, how individually we can say that we took the sample from that bird only, like
we can do that, right? I mean, people do that for human beings. That's like a very quick and dirty way of doing it, like
yeah, sir. Like
paternity test.
in the humans, we like if I and you have given sample for DNA analysis, we keep in touch with the researchers, and we come to know, and the researchers will come to know that it was sample from us. But we can't contact the birds and all. So like if yeah, we have tagged the birds, yes, but does the tag contain all the information of the genetic? Because after tagging only, we are going to take the sample and then we are going to do the analysis in genetic lab. What I'm trying to say is, information is going to get me after tagging.
Yeah,
So how we will come to know that that is the same word from which we got the information, genetic information.
but we are doing misnetting every time we are catching the bird.
That's what I was coming to. We need to recapture it, no, sir. Like we need to recapture the tagged word only. Then we can understand if that was the same word, no, sir.
But we can still do that,
Recapturing
right?
success is less, no, sir. Usually,
Yeah, but we can still do that, right?
hypothetically, we can do.
Hypothetically, yes. Okay, let's see.
So D, sir. I guess D.
So everyone understood why C is good enough, right?
But sir, is D necessary if we already marked the birds using C, and is D really that useful?
Govin, could you repeat and keep the mic closer to your mouth?
Sir, is the option D really useful if C is already performed?
No, not useful. Not useful.
Tagging is already done on the birds, right, sir?
Yeah, no, but not useful. Yeah, of course not useful. I mean, it's an extra effort.
So it's either C or D, right? Sir,
Yeah,
not both.
yeah. Still an extra effort, but still can be done. All right, I'll move to the next question. Yeah. Sorry, what? 6:15. Who's Papiha Varke? What do you want?
I'm not able to mute or unmute myself. I'm so sorry. Can I type or should I just say? I think I should type. It's noisy here.
We
I'm
can.
so sorry.
Yeah, okay. Sure.
Papihaji, registration for the exam date has been extended to March 20th. If you have registered for the exams, you can obviously can give the exam for the in the month of April. Yeah, you can give it in the month of April, but you have to have finished minimum at least 8 assignments. Otherwise, that marks won't be there, and you might not score well.
Papiya, is this out of topic? Completely off the topic? or was it something else that you wanted to post privately?
Yeah, this was just off the topic that I wanted to ask if I can give all those assignments in the month of in the first week of April and then appear for the final exam because
no. Actually,
it
the
is,
assignments
yeah.
are closed. Once the date is fixed, the last date of the assignment is given. After the last date is expired, you can't answer it. It gets locked, and you get the answer code with the assignment.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we've got answers. C. Everyone else? Oh wow. Okay. C is the answer. Okay. So. Okay. No other answers?
Sir, what do you mean by examples, sir? I mean, I'm not able to understand the last part.
Like
What could be the
examples
possible examples? Means
of
examples in the
rapid
sense.
environmental change. This is like a general question.
Okay, just the environmental examples, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, how do animals mistakenly prefer habitats such as fitness is lower? How does that happen?
Sir, aren't they genetically hardwired so that their fitness comes first? Why should they get trapped, or why should they choose a lower fitness?
So some of these habitats, especially the human modified habitats. Okay, answer the thing first, and then we'll. Okay, let me just give the answer. Wait, are there other people who've given the answers? Okay, so, how do they mistakenly prefer habitat? Shall I give the answer first and then explain?
Does habitat fragmentation comes into play, sir?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, the answer is D. All of the above. All of these can possibly have ecological traps.
B also, sir?
Yeah, B also. B, exotic species. These are the plantations that have come up, like especially in this is something particularly that I work on. Like,
what do you work on, sir? I didn't get the what you work on.
I was going to say that before you interrupted. But I work on. We work on birds in exotic timber stands, especially in Shola Islands in Western Ghats, and we work on how these birds, like what are the variables or factors responsible for the distribution of the native birds in these stands, and that is regarding the bird. That's regarding the birds that I work on, but there are other things also in my PhD related to plants and all. But so exotic species would mean stands of exotic timber or exotic trees, or even lantana, like in the understory, all these things. So, okay, how do they mistakenly prefer habitat? So sometimes what happens is, everyone knows, right? I mean, there are. So how do birds pick whether they want to nest here or not? Like, how do they pick? Any possible like paper you have read, or any suggestion?
Start thinking one with maximum amount of resources and less amount of danger, right, sir?
Large amount of resources, less amount of danger. Is that what he said?
Yes, sir. They usually strike a balance between these two.
Okay, resources is, as Harini says, availability of food. What do you mean by less of danger? How would the birds be able to quantify that, if they are quantifying that as?
Predation risk is in the sense.
Predation risk as well as the environmental risks like storms or any natural.
Okay, let's take an example of a bird that wants to nest somewhere. So what would physically be? I mean, predation and environmental conditions are, I mean, something like abstract for birds, right? I mean, they know there are predators around. They know the temperature would be high, but what would it look for? Like, what is the physical thing?
Suitable place in a tree or in a bush, which is out of reach of the predators in some way or the other.
Okay.
Like the Baya weavers constructing their nest overlooking the river or something.
Yeah.
So it solely depends on the environment and the nature, and the way it protects itself is through unreachable, nesting, like the cliffs, crack martin
So
nesting in
everyone-
the cliffs.
So everyone knows that there are these vegetation structure that birds look for. Probably even, I mean, it could be vegetation structure, it could be vegetation composition. I mean, a lot of the composition would mean the species of the vegetation, and structure would mean how, like the vertical and the horizontal components of vegetation. Like vertical would mean the trunks, the stem density, and the horizontal would mean the leaves, leaf density. So these are the structure that can be that the birds might be looking for when they are preferring habitats to nest, or yeah. So if they go up and down little, I mean, there would be like a range within which the animal. Sorry, we have a bit of rains coming over here, but there would be a range. Like, I mean, it wouldn't be. I mean, it's usually never an abrupt change. Like, okay, I want only 50. How do I say? 50 should be the stem density per meter square for me to make a nest in that particular stand. No, I mean that is not how ecology usually works. That would be a range. So I'll pick something like 30 to 60 stem density as stem density. So that's where the bird might make a nest. Are people following what I said?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah, yes, sir.
Your voice is rather hard to understand.
Sorry, my voice is hard to understand.
Yeah, well, it seems rather light.
Okay. Okay, I think I have pretty decent internet. I'm not sure if it's my, yeah. So anyways, so the stem density, and similarly for leaf density. I mean, there could be like there needn't be a particular number that the bird might look for. No, I mean, I only want 50 leaf touches per meter cube or something like that. It would be more like, oh, I want this within this range. So that range, or that range of leaf touches or stem density or whatever, I mean, or the number of bolts, it can find somewhere else also, right? I mean, its leaves and its stems and also it can find somewhere else. For example, birds do nest in agriculture areas. I mean, how did they come? I mean, agriculture wasn't there when the birds were actually there. I mean, it had adapted a little bit from grassland situation to agriculture, because they have similar vegetation structure. Similarly, forest situation to plantation situation, forest and plantation can have very similar structure, and that's why they can probably confuse a plantation as the initial forest that these birds were coming from. I mean, were a part of. People understood, right? I mean, this part is understandable.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So it can happen that the forest might have a good number of mesocarnivores and top carnivores. Top carnivores can help in reducing the number of mesocarnivores. The mesocarnivores are the ones that actually feed on the nest of these birds. So their numbers are limited. But in a plantation, the situation can be very different, particularly in a situation where it's very close to human habitat. There, the numbers of mesocarnivores and number of there probably most of the times there are no top carnivores. So the mesocarnivores are usually high. What are the mesocarnivores? Your domestic cat, your palm civet. These are ones that you usually find in even for example, big rats and all that climb the trees, they are very high in number in a plantation, like in plantations that are close to human habitats. So that would mean that the survival rate in the forest would be much better for birds than survival rate in the plantation, or for example agriculture, say. So where do you think the turnover would be more? Turnover means matlab the individual that is in the second year is not the individual in the first year. That's a very new individuals that there's agriculture plantation, that is where turnover would be more. The individuals in the second third year would be totally different from the individuals in the first year. Whereas in the forest there is a chance that the individuals are longer living than the individuals in the human modified habitats. So that is what I mean. Ecological trap is something that had come like some 20 years back. If you want to read upon it, there's a Wikipedia page. From there you can find out all the papers that they, yeah. So yes,
Two
Govind.
question.
Yeah, Sachin and
Sir?
let Govind go first. He raised his hand first. Yeah.
Well, in such a case, animals don't exactly prefer their habitat, right? So the birds don't exactly prefer plantations. They just their options are limited. They just have to make nests where they can, right? So
Yes,
it's
yes.
not
There
like
are
they
there are
prefer-
some cues that they look for. Like for example, like I said, the leaf density or the stem density. They would exactly, those are the cues, and nobody knows exactly what is this mental calculation that they do. But yeah, those are the cues that they look for.
Okay, I have two questions here. One is about the mesocarnivore, whether snakes fall into the category.
I think so. Snakes are eaten by top carnivores, right? The eagles and yeah, yeah. So
Okay.
they're
Second question is, you mean the turnover is more in such situations? So does it actually mean that the first year, whatever batch has occupied this particular habitat, will go back maybe forest region or some other region
that
because
depends.
of
That depends on the species that we're talking about. Usually,
okay,
like
but what I'm trying to say is, uh, in the forest region, the birds or that species will be having longer term settlement, right, compared to these ecological traps. So what happens, are these species coming there because there is a limit in the forest and they're trying to explore these regions, or they found this suitable, and after the settlement, actually, I mean, when the turnover, the result is basically the turnover. So where do they actually go? Did it go back to another region or go back to the forest or something like that?
I mean, that's very difficult to say. It's a very, like I said, it's a very species specific question that you're asking. What I
Okay.
understand, so there is definitely what even Moshimi has told in her lecture. There's a source and a sink. So these
Right.
ecological traps are usually the sinks. The source
Okay.
is this forest that they are coming from.
Mhm.
And it may happen that even though the turnover is very high, but they still survive and manage to like barely survive. It wouldn't thrive as it can in the forest, but manage to barely survive. Or it can happen that you would see the bird for like 10 years or 20 years, and eventually it will die off because the population level couldn't be retained as is possible. So
Okay.
like
Okay.
like Robin, I mean my supervisor Robin, he calls these things as I mean it's a very general term. Don't use it in your exams or anything if you have to write, but for explanation it's much easier to understand. Like these things are like airports. People don't usually stay there much. They are mostly in a transition. So when staying there, I'm not talking about like staying for 2 minutes or 3 minutes or 2 hours. They're like they breed, they find out they are either predated or something like that. The next generation comes out, and only one of them survives, and they breed again. So basically, there's a lot of turnover of people in airports, but not in the homes. So it's like as different as that.
Understood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Sir,
Yes.
sir, are you, by live tables, what do you mean, sir?
Sorry.
Sir, what do you mean by live tables, sir?
Oh,
Ethogram, sir. Is it ethogram?
This
this.
has the data related to the ages of the species,
Yeah, yeah,
how
yeah.
their
Is it an ethogram, sir?
fecundity.
No, it's not an ethogram. Ethogram is more for behavior. You
Correct.
haven't gone through Moshumi's lecture, you guys?
Sir,
This,
no, sir,
yes.
I have watched till only the lectures, sir. The other two lectures I get to watch.
Arey yaar. I mean, that's not done. I mean, I think, no, other two lectures, right? That is Umesh's lecture. First one is Moshumi's lecture. So this comes in the first lecture. Okay, so life table is basic. Okay, and I can't explain it like very good, but life table of wild animals. So let me just see if we can. Okay, I can't. So basically, life table. So life table looks like you have different ages, and at that. So if you're looking at human population, say for example, so there in the human population from age 0 to 1, there would be number of babies born, and there would be the next column would be number of babies that survive. So that's basically the infant mortality rate. So that would be there, and then from 1 to 2, again the number of babies that are living, and how many of them survive till the second year. Then 2 to 3, same thing. It goes on till whatever the last stage, like 100, 105, or 110. So by the end of it, the number of people who actually live and who actually survive are very close. I mean, do you get my point? I mean, so that's the life table. So
Yes,
basically,
sir.
yeah, you do that for a particular species, and yeah, rest of. So it requires a lot of data. Like you have to intensely monitor a population. They're used for insurance. Yes, yes, yes. They are. They use that like the yeah. Yeah, I mean, Harini, do you want to explain more? I mean, I'm not exactly sure of this, but yes, I know that they use it. But if you know more, can you explain? You can use the mic if you want to.
Not really, not really. I don't know enough. It's actuarial sciences, I guess. I've just come across the term. That's about it.
Okay. So yeah, so basically that will give you like the survival rate at that particular age. There's a lot of other things. You should go through Moshumi's lecture. She
This is
explains.
week 7.
Sorry.
Week 7?
Yes, week 7, the first lecture.
This is the name, I think, is the bird population.
Something of like that. Umesh's is bird communities. Yes.
Right.
So yeah, so that would require like a lot of exhaustive data and needs intense monitoring of population. B is chuma some option I came up with. Don't take it too seriously. But yeah, the basically answer is A and C both. I mean, a lot of maths is involved in all lot of things in bird ecology. I mean, or ecology in general. So it's not exactly a proper clear answer. So I hope you got it. So basically, what you get at the first instant, what you get is you get the survival rate in that particular age. Then you get the survivorship curve. Like how is the survivorship curve? Does it remain stable? Like in human beings, it remains stable for a really long time. So it remains like a flat for a really long time. But after a certain age, like 70s or 80s, it drops like immediately till it reaches zero at 105 or something like that. Similarly, in birds, it's actually the survivorship curve is it is a straight line. I mean, you should Google up what is survivorship curve. I'll just write it down. One can come up with survivorship curve from these live tables. So in birds, what the survivorship curve is, on the y-axis is the number of individuals, and on the x-axis is the age. So in the birds, the survivorship curve is more a straight line. And where do you think the survivorship curve would be on this? Like it is very high in the younger ages, but as you become older, the number drastically reduces. Where do you think that happens? Which taxa?
Plantations.
No, not birds. No. I'm not talking about survivorship curve is usually for species. So human beings, birds, it's for taxa. It's a taxa specific. It's not a habitat. Do you get it?
Are related species.
Yes.
Type
Yeah.
1.
Yes, it is our
Type 1, right?
type 1 is this, type 2 is this, and type 3 is this. Or I'm confused which one is which, but yeah. So those are the case selected and the R selected. The case selected are usually the human beings or elephants, where a lot of care and nurture is given in the initial years of the child or the offspring, and as the time increases, it just drops off eventually. But in for example insects, plants, a lot of they produce a lot of offspring. So in plants produce a lot of seeds, insects produce a lot of offsprings, fish produce a lot of offsprings, even frogs produce a lot of offsprings. But only one, like turtles for example, the best example, they produce a lot of eggs, but the survival rate is 1 in 1,000 or something in turtle, like sea turtles. So it reduces
Like
drastically.
1%, sir.
1 in 1,000, not even 1%. I heard 1 in 1,000, but yeah, I may be wrong. It's all number game. So that's what you get from the life table, and there are other things also that you get in life table. You can do a population viable analysis and stuff like that, but that actually involves like intense monitoring of population. You have to tag each bird. You have to know which has died, which has not died, and like a lot of time. Like you might have to do it for 50 years for a particular bird species. So not usually people do that. It's like yeah, you have to have all the resources in the world to do that.
Quality versus quantity, right, sir?
Yeah, something of that sort. Yeah. So this is like a maths. It'll require some calculation if you know the formula. I hope you know the formula. If not, then I'll just copy the formula and then you can try again. This is from Umesh's class. Okay, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 people. I'll just ask. I'll just throw the question. Oh, Sachin actually did it. You knew the formula, Sachin?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
What's the formula, sir?
Sachin, can you drop the formula in the chat box, please?
Sure. I'll have to add up all those details as well. What do this represent? I'll just share that. Just wait.
It's okay. The formula is coming. Yes, Sachin has done.
Yeah. So M is where the second sampling is done. M is the second sampling.
Yeah. Okay.
N is the first. Small n is the first sampling. Capital N is the total population, and R is the the marked one
In the second time.
in the second capture. So which is 7 here. So capital N would be calculated. M would
That's
be
it. Let the others calculate. They can do the simple one.
So capital N is the total
That's
number
what
of
we have to
individual
calculate.
mice captured, right,
Yeah,
sir?
yeah. That's what we have to calculate. Capital N is what we have to calculate. Small m for mouse, is the second time the number of individuals captured. R is small n for Nepal. Small n is the number that was captured the first time, or the total number of mice that were captured in the first capture. Then R for Rajasthan, is the small r is for the number of recaptures in the second capture.
And M is the second time, right, sir?
Yeah. M is the second time. The total captured in the second time. Yeah. People got the answer? Okay, so m by n is equal to r by r, 12 by capital N is equal to 7 by 14, so n is equal to 24. Small m is total number of marked mice, capital N is total population of mice, r is marked recaptured, and capital R is captured in the second lot. So usually, this is like a simple formula which is still used by a lot of chemistry labs, and to find out some solvent or solute or something like that. But mark recapture has now, this has now advanced to a lot, like to an extreme level. So what you do is, this was my first instance of field sampling when I was doing what I was doing in Arunachal. We had like an array of traps. So these traps are not randomly placed; they are placed in an array in 64, like 8 meter by 8 meter. That's like for a particular study that they used 8 meter by 8 meter, because they thought that area is like a good number where you can get a good number of. So they were studying the forest mice. So it was like it's arranged in a grid, and then in each where the grid crosses, they had like traps daily. They kept it overnight. In the morning, we have to go and see if the trap has mice. Then we tag the mice. We used to give them like either a ear tag, or there are other ways to tag a mice. And then the next day we do the same process. The next day we come back again and count the number of recaptures. Then third day also we do the same process. We come back again and calculate the number of recapture. So it went on till 7 days, and then so that estimate is quite robust, is what I heard. So that's usually how you find out like how many mice are there or something like that.
So when you do the repeated capture mark recapture, so at every day I mean, the second day onwards, you start calculating the population and then you try to average, or how does that formula work out for multiple days?
I mean, you have to look it up. I mean, there's a Jolly Seber. This is called Jolly Seber. JOLLYSEBER. Sorry,
Okay.
SCBER. Huh. So basically, what it happens is in the second day also you captured some new ones, right? They'll also be tagged.
Right.
And they will be released in the field, whatever, in the forest or
Right.
whatever. So the same formula is again applied the third day when so that will also be equal. The ratio would also again be equal or supposedly equal,
Okay.
right? The second day also you'll have some recaptures and some that were not recaptured. So there would be a ratio again over here.
Hmm.
So that would be equal to that ratio. Fourth day also there would be a ratio that would be equal to that ratio. So you do a lot of maths to get to
Okay.
that. It's not as simple as the
Sir, I have a
one day. Yeah, go on. Sachin, you can look at this Jolly Saber method and yeah,
I'll check that. Thanks.
yeah. Go in.
yes, sir. Well, my doubt is from the second and third day onwards,
Yeah.
the mice that have been recaptured once or twice, they'll be a little more varied progressive times. Right, sir? They'll become more alert, they'll become more wary, and they're less likely to be captured again.
Yeah.
Is that taken into account?
Yes, it is, and so it's not just that way. There are some mice that, so it's called trap shy. There are individuals who are trap shy. They never approach the trap after they've been caught once, so that is trap shy. And then there are individuals that are trap happy. They'll always come to the trap even the next day, to the next day. So these are just terms that have actually been like used in scientific papers. So I'm not making it up. So yeah, so it goes both ways, but yeah, I think it is taken into account because of this this formula that, and there are more. Jolly Saber is just one uh, group of scientists that have come up with one method. There are more other formulas also, but if you look at mark recapture, you'll find.
Govind, I asked the same question to uh, Dr. Umesh, and he said that that is a possibility that birds. I was actually asking that the captured bird might signal, or some other birds who see that there is a capture happening here might trigger a signal or alarm to others saying that there is a possibility of capture. But he was saying that uh, so there are both the options, so they may cancel each other. Like, one option is the other may get alert, so some may just move away from that path or did not try that path. But there'll be other, as I think Dr. Jobin is saying,
I am
that
not a
there'll be
doctor. I'm not a doctor yet, so just call me Jobin.
so Jobin is saying that they'll be captured happy or something like that. But that will be a typical route for their flow in that path. So they will still try to follow that route. So that's what he was explaining. So probably that is
For
very much in
fish
a
netting, right?
Yeah,
mist
this is
netting,
for
correct.
mist netting. Yeah. Harini says with more number of captures, M keeps changing with more markings. Yes, Harini, M keeps changing, and there's a particular ratio. So there would be the ratio changes also. So there would be like a total recapture upon the total number of captured in the third day, and then there would be a ratio total recapture of the second day upon the total number of recaptures. So those are the ratios also put into the formula. So you might have to check Jolly Saber's paper to get to the exact. I mean, I don't think I have ever done that calculation. So yeah. All right. So we know the answer now. Yeah.
Here x-axis is the distance, right?
Yes,
Shobin?
yes. Sorry if that was not visible. Wait, yeah, I think that. Okay, for this question, as the figure tells you in the left top corner, the figure is basically, it says that in a line transect, the true distribution of the surveyed species is assumed uniform as the distance from the observer increases. So you can see there's a line, there's a main line, and the distribution. So if you consider like a band moving away from that main line, so a band of 5 meter, band of 5 meter, band of 5 meter, you'll see that in each band of 5 meter, the number of individuals that fall within the band is assumed to be equal. But in point count, what happens is you have a inner circle which is of a particular radius. Then you have a band of 5 meter which makes the outer circle after pi. So that is what would the area of that circle would be? What would the area of the circle be? Would it be higher? Would it be lower? Or would it be equal? Higher. Yeah, Harini said higher. So similarly, if you go out, further out. Sorry? Okay.
Could you repeat it, sir?
Okay. You guys can see the. Yeah. You guys can see the circle, right? The one with pi written in the center. So this is the area. Say this is like 5 meter from the observer is sitting in the center, and this is like 5 meter from the observer. So there's an area. So that would be pi r square. So pi into 25. Then there's another area which is like 5 meter away from the first circle. That would make it 10 meter of circle radius. And the area within this band would be pi into 10 square minus pi into 5 square. Are people following till now?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Similarly, so basically what is happening is, intuitively if you look at it, the area in the outer band is a little larger than the area in the inner circle. Similarly, area in the second most outer, second most from the outside, outer this thing, has even larger area than the second circle. And similarly for the fourth, it will have a larger area than the fourth and the third and the second and the first. So I'll just give you the answer first. And that's the second sheet. Yeah, you'll be able to understand this now much better. So over here, this is the distribution. These dark circles, these dark points that you see is the other individuals. And you will see that there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 individuals in this circle. But in the outer circle, if you just this increase in the number of individuals would be based on the proportionately larger area in the outer circle, because it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here, plus somewhere around 5 plus 6, 11, and somewhere like a lot more. And similarly in the third circle, it is even more than 15 or whatever is in this 3 pi wala circle. So you see that as you go away from the observer is in the center. As you go away from the observer, the number in each band, the number of birds in each band is basically increasing. Yeah, over here. So this is the distance. This is the proportion basically. So are we clear? So the line increases as the x increase.
Jobin, one question.
Sir, I
Yeah, Sachin.
sorry to interrupt,
Govind, let Sachin say the first.
So here the distribution is not the
Same.
density, right?
No, distribution is not the density. No.
Okay.
Yeah. Density is basically it will have an area term in the denominator.
Yeah. So I was just referring to the y-axis, which is 0.51 and all these things.
Oh, that is that could be something. I mean, it could be either. I mean, what was in the last?
But I can assume that
Yeah,
the
yeah.
distribution will usually mean roughly the number of receipts or something like that, right? Not the density wise.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Sir,
Govind, you were saying
I
something.
didn't quite hear I didn't quite hear the parts after you were explaining the area, right? So you explained the area of each ring. After that, I couldn't really. I had some network problem.
Okay, so listen. So if so, this is the line transect. People can see my pointer, right? This is the line transect, and generally, what happens is if you're if you're surveying a bird on this line, what happens is there are several methods, but one method could be use survey in each 5 meter away. So there would be a band of 5 meter here, then there would be band that is 10 meter away from the observer, then there would be a band that is 15 meter away from the observer, then there would be a band that is 20 meter away from the observer. In each band, that is like 5 meter width, and the length would be as the same as the transect length. So in each band, what happens is you technically it's assumed, the assumption is that you technically would have the same individual in the band. Govind, you follow till now? Same number of individuals, not individuals, same number of individuals in the band, right? Yeah.
Okay.
I
get it.
But if it's a point count, there are bands here as well. But what you see is the area of the bands keep increasing as you go away from the observer. So as the area increases, if it's randomly distributed, these species, if these individuals are randomly distributed, then it will depend on the area, right? The number of individuals that are there in the band would depend on the area. If the area is higher, the number of individuals would be higher. If the area is low, the number of individuals will be low. So that would mean that, that would mean that as you go away from the observer, the number of individuals is assumed to be increasing as with the distance. Did you get it?
I get it, sir.
Yeah, okay. All right. I'll recommend people read the question a little bit. Like it's got like, yeah. Yeah, all right. So what we have is we have this space where you have the light color is the light is a habitat with light density of vegetation. So basically it could be light leaf density or anyways lighter density of tree trunks in that habitat. And as the color of the habitat increases, that only means that the density. Okay. അരവിന്ദ് ഫോണിൽ ഇൻ്റർനെറ്റ് ഉണ്ടോ? ഒന്ന് ഹോട്ട്സ്പോട്ട് തരാമോ? എന്തോ? ഇന്ന് എൻ്റെ ഒട്ടും ചലിക്കുന്നില്ല. മിക്കതും ചലിക്കുന്ന. ചെയ്തിട്ടുണ്ടോ? എന്താ പേര്? ഓക്കെ. ഇതിൻ്റെ പാസ്വേഡും കിട്ടിയില്ല. ഇതിനകത്ത് ഒട്ടും ഇൻ്റർനെറ്റ് ഇല്ലേ. ഡസ്കി സ്ക്വിറല്ല എല്ലാം. ഡബിൾ ആർ അല്ലേ സ്ക്വിറിന്? തോന്നി. ബെസ്റ്റ്. Alright, a lot of people are saying A. Let's see what the answer is. Yeah, A is the answer. It's from the same last question that we explained. It's the same concept. I hope people got it. Like, the lightest has the highest detection probability. The bird would be visible the most, considering, or visible, or even heard the most. Considering we are talking about the same species of bird, and the denser vegetation or densest vegetation would have the least detection probability because it would be hidden in the so this we are talking about the visible or visual cues of the bird. So the probability that the bird is seen. When we are talking about the audio cue, the things could be totally similar throughout. If the bird is especially vocal, then it may be totally similar. So there's what people generally use is both visual and audio cue, just to make sure that So anyway, next question is, Yeah, a lot of people have said A. There are answers coming. All right. I'll just rush a little more than usual because we've lost like 10 minutes. So yeah, detection probability of the survey species also increases with the distance from the observer or the surveyor. Because of the obvious reason, there would be more vegetation between your vision line and the bird itself as the distance increases. And this we are talking about the visible survey. Even in audio survey, sometimes most of the times it also reduces as the distance increases, because the bird would be more audible closer to you, but less audible as your distance from the bird increases. So I hope that's clear. Yeah, this is how the graph should look like. Yes, this was not this no brainer actually. So detection probabilities of birds can be influenced by a lot of factors. Observer, how experienced the observer is. If the observer is not, like an observer could have seen the bird, they know what the bird looks like, but they don't know what the bird sounds like. So it can miss the most obvious birds sometimes, like for example white eye. For a long time I didn't know what white eyes sounded like. So, and white eyes so I missed a lot of white eyes in the initial birding days. So but they were plenty abundant everywhere. And the time of the day, of course. So some of the birds are more vocal or more behaviorally active in certain parts of the day, and less in the others. Wind speed, higher the wind speed, probably wind can have both two or three effects. So first effect is, with the increasing wind birds become generally silent, and then the other one is, with increasing wind, probably with the rustle of leaves and all, bird calls are less audible. So it could be various factors, so all of the above, of course. Yeah, so let's just skip this. Basically this is like these are different species of birds and what all can affect their detection probabilities. I won't dwell on this, we can move over. Yeah.
Sir, can you just take a previous slide once?
Okay, so
I'll just take a photo of it.
No, this is my sorry, actually this is my thesis thing. I haven't published it yet, so sorry.
Sorry, sir.
Yeah, and I mean, you can go to the video and take the photo, but yeah,
no, sir, I won't. I will wait until you publish.
Yeah.
Sir, doesn't both A and B are almost similar and they hold good?
No, A is individual birds, B is bird species. They're different, huh?
But still, if we concentrate the word miss and the individual say, I guess A and B.
Actually, according to the question, it's a species diversity. So wouldn't B be the option in this case?
No, there are chances that entire species might not be caught in the net, like It's all about the movement of the species, right?
Then it would actually be the juveniles that would be mostly missed for some of the species, right? They may not be able to fly. Misnating is basically the flying bird. I mean, capturing the flying birds, right?
Yeah.
If the bird is not able to fly, how do you capture that?
But also look at the misnet height, 3 meter.
Yeah, that's what.
Correct, but I mean, we put the misnet in some places.
Yeah.
If there are no roosts there or the nest there, how do we capture?
Same. It's again same missing the individuals only, na? Like
True. I mean,
juveniles or females.
Initially, I was feeling that there are many other options that are applicable. So.
No, actually, see, juveniles or females, again, they are individuals. So it again circles back to A and B. Okay.
Yeah, let's see what the answer is. This was taken from a last year question. Yeah, it's A. So suppose we use misnetting to capture a bird in a forest. We are trying to make a species diversity list of all the forest bird species. What do you think are the drawbacks of this method? I'm not sure why I can.
Doesn't B also apply? I mean, for example, some birds may not be
it can.
exceptional.
Yeah.
That's why I wrote A and B, sir.
Good only. Yeah, it can. I mean, B is definitely an answer. I think I made this question last year, so I'm not sure what I thought about it at that time. But birds of prey they are not likely to be captured by misnet. No. So what did people?
Is it because they fly high, sir?
Yes. What people generally do is for hornbills and birds of prey, they put the misnet on a taller tree, and the misnet is basically above the ground and at a height over 10 meter or something. So hornbills are also.
Isn't that?
Sir, but they are huge birds, and they are quite a bit of a force. So how we can catch them in the misnet?
Also, it seems like it's kind of unsafe, sir. If at that height and the size of the bird, likely the bird might fall.
So misnets are of different types. So basically, if you are only limiting your study to understory birds, they'll have the smaller misnet size. So that size has a particular name to it. And as and if you're targeting like hornbills or something, which are very big birds, you don't use the same misnet that you use for tiny birds. You use like a larger and sturdier misnet, and obviously they have these. So our pole that we use for misnets, they are these retractable poles, and they're very costly poles. So for hornbills and all, these retractable poles can go further high, and they can be retracted back once the bird is caught. I have never done it, so I'm not exactly sure of this process, but I mean, misnetting and bird handling and capturing is a very costly business. The instruments and the equipments that come for these things, this process is quite costly, and they're all foreign made, so you have to import from there, and so they think of all these things when they're doing it. So yeah, I think that answers the question.
Can I ask a question here? Yes. I mean, it's not directly related to the question you asked, but it's something I wonder about. Some of the skulking species that typically remain in the undergrowth, say wren babblers and TCRs, is there a good possibility that they would fly and come into the misnet? I mean, I know that statistically you'd use the capture mark recapture, so at least irrespective of the numbers that you actually catch, you might be able to very closely kind of come to an accurate kind of abundance. But I'm just wondering, do these are misnets used for these species?
Yes, they are. If you go through Umesh's lecture again, he was talking about the snowy browed flycatcher. Apparently, they're very common in the forest over there, but you never see them in the point count method because they are not very conspicuous vocally or visually. But they are the fifth. They come in the fifth highest number of birds caught in the misnet.
So I remember.
They are basically skulking birds, but they just don't. They skulk and they are not visible or they are not audible as well. But in mistnets, they come very easily. So I mean, mistnetters, people who do mistnet, they know. I mean, they also use a lot of ecology of the bird. So they know that the bird would move from one bush to the other, and if there's a pathway in between, it's better to keep the mistnet between those pathways. And they open the mistnet only early morning when there's slight mist and slight darkness. So it's quite capable that the bird would never see the mistnet before it gets caught. So yeah, so they have a particular time, and especially in the mountains where which flycatcher? Snowy browed. I hope yeah, I think I caught one. I had a picture with snowy browed flycatcher, but yeah. So yes, yeah.
Thanks, that helps.
How do we avoid injury? Okay, how do we avoid injuries to birds in the process, or is it totally safe? It is technically safe. There is a rate of sorry. There is a chance of fatality, but it's like 1 in 1,000 or something, and that's what some people have to go ahead with. One can't help it. But how do we avoid injuries to birds? The people who are doing mistnetting are properly trained. Like they have to they have to undergo certain days of training. So this is called the number of hours you have mistnetted. So that number of hours is counted for people like these, and that's when they can mistnet individually. They can mistnet alone, or they can mistnet or they can lead a team of mistnetters or something like that. So I mean, yeah, it's quite complicated. Like it's basically, how do you avoid it's like it's basically, yeah, you have to draw blood samples and all. So there's a lot of medical yeah, you have to know how to handle a syringe, where to prick the syringe, and these are all the things that yeah, mistnetters have to. Yeah, this is question 11. Yeah.
And sir, could I have a small question?
Yeah.
I don't know how sensitive hornbills are, but if they get caught in mistnets, are they likely to panic or be affected more?
They're larger birds, so apparently not. It's the smaller birds that have these panic attacks and stuff like that. Larger birds are generally more robust. But yeah, I mean, all these questions you should ask Umesh, because he has caught a lot of birds. I only have like an experience of like a few 20, 30 birds or something. Everyone says D. No, only 2 people say D. I mean, in this question, think of the ecology of the behavioral ecology of the bird and stuff like that. Again, this question was taken last year, so I might have missed a lot of technicalities. Shouldn't have taken this question. But anyways, the answer, okay, we have half an hour. The answer, what I thought was the right answer last year, was we'll miss the females, because generally males are the ones that respond to a playback a lot, but that is also not very true. And then juveniles also. Yes, I mean, I know you have a lot of doubts in this question. This question can have a lot of flaws, but yeah.
I was thinking B to be not correct. I mean, A can be rejected because the study is about the small bird.
Yeah.
Second is actually females. Females are. That's where the male birds produce the sound to attract others. So I was thinking that if you produce a sound, obviously male respond for the territory related sounds and the female will respond for the mating or other calls. I was thinking that females would obviously come into that trap.
Yeah.
Ground bird or C or D, maybe I was doubtful.
And sir, if don't males play songs when females are already close by or near? I mean, they wouldn't call out in the blue and the female would just come, right? Sir,
No.
More the other way around.
You have not seen that video of that that highly threatened bird. There's only one male left, and the male is singing out loud because there's no the species has only one individual, and that's a male. So the male is singing. There's a video very popular. I don't know if you've gotten it. I forgot the species though.
What male? What video?
There's a video out there somewhere. It comes on WhatsApps and Instagram where this lone male of the species, that's the only male or that's only individual left in the entire species of that bird, and this is singing out loud for the I mean I can share the next time, but I seriously don't remember. But yeah, I mean it can happen that even without the females, the males may sing just to attract the females. So but anyways, this question wasn't.
Even if the male simply sing.
Yeah, I mean males can also sing for territorial defense, right? Even before the females have come back from migration or something. So, yeah.
So my question is, would females like be attracted to male songs out in the forest, or do they have to be there to be attracted?
They may come, yeah.
So the possibility is there. Okay.
Yes, there is. We'll never know. Okay, Sachin, if D is not the answer, what would be the answer?
Sir, usually in birding sense, we say minimum of 15 minutes is the minimum. At least we have to sample the area, sir. So we may never know we have sampled fully or not.
That's just an e-bird thing. I'm not sure if that actually makes sense, but yeah. If you find
no, sir, not even e-bird, sir. Not only e-bird. The older generation birders who doesn't know e-bird or don't use e-bird, they also say at least 20 to 30 minutes. If you do, you can get a good general idea of species around. So I have no idea which
No,
I
don't think.
What about the nightjar, which may not just come out of frog mouth, so how do you survey that?
We can do it night survey or something.
Yeah, I mean to say 15-20 minutes.
Yeah, exactly.
Those time will really.
I don't think that actually fits. I mean, that actually fits now that you know the ecology of these birds. How would you say that? Like, suppose a very species rich habitat like forest of northeast, you definitely not calculate or come across all the species of the forest in 15 minutes or 20 minutes.
Sir, isn't it a combination of A, B, and C?
Yeah, but C is basically.
So in that case, A is the answer. So like when the curve flattens, it means that we have reached a saturation point, and we might never cover the whole species list, but at least we would have reached 80 to 90% of it or something.
Harini, yes, when the curve flattens, yes, species area curve flattens. So yeah.
And it sounds like the most scientific answer, sir.
Yeah.
The rest seem made up.
Yeah. Okay, so a few more questions and yeah. I mean, I think the last three questions are it'll require a little lot of thinking, hopefully.
Sir, can we choose multiple choices like?
Yeah, you can. But there's only one answer to this. Yeah, actually, no.
Sir, no, sir. Both the C and D can happen. So, like, disease outbreak also decimate the population, and forest fire can also decimate the population.
But isn't this focused on forest species alone?
Deterministic factor.
What do you mean by deterministic factors? That what that word?
Oh, that is what I was looking for. Okay. So there are two factors that can affect a population: deterministic and stochastic.
Sorry, sir. Can you tell again so that I didn't catch it?
So the deterministic, the spelling is there on the screen. Stochastic.
No, sir. The second one.
Yeah. So second one spelling, I've shared it on the chat box. It's called stochastic factor. So as the name, I mean, it's a very general English term. If the name suggests, it's like it's there in the stock market also. So some certain factors that are out of your control. So basically, like a flood, you can never guess when the flood came, or when the flood can come, or something like that. Forest fire, disease outbreak. I mean, disease outbreak is also deterministic, somewhat deterministic factor. But generally, like a epidemic or something, like a pandemic, nobody was able to guess when the pandemic was supposed to come. It just came and killed a lot of people, and there were a lot of deaths. But yeah, so something like that is a stochastic event. Then there's a deterministic factor, which is basically dependent on the population itself. Like as the population increases, there's a chance that you will have competition within the people, within the individuals, and there will be less food, and there will be more deaths that way. So the population is in control. So it depends on the population density. So deterministic factor depends on the population. Stochastic factors depends on the other chance events that happen and that may affect the population. I hope that's clear. Yeah. Go on.
Well, out of curiosity, is global warming and climate change considered deterministic or stochastic?
It's a stochastic event, but stochastics are usually chance events. So global warming, everyone knows that is happening, but whatever follows because of global warming, that those untimely rain, those the heat wave and everything, those are more stochastic events. So yeah.
But global warming itself can be considered a deterministic event.
No. Deterministic event depends on the population itself. Suppose the population is of 50 individuals, then because of the 50 individuals staying in a very closely cramped situation, probably there might be some kind of a parasitic outbreak or something like that. So those are deterministic events. Not global warming is more of something that excludes the population, something that's a chance event. I hope that clears.
Isn't it caused by people?
Oh my god. It's caused by human beings, and we're talking about birds. So how do you...
In relation to humans, I was asking if it's deterministic.
That's a very... Govind, you're just baal ki khal nikal rahe ho types. I don't know. Nobody would ask you if global warming is a deterministic or... But if they ask, then tell them it's a stochastic event. Don't tell them it's a deterministic.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. Or at least whatever follows global warming, like the floods, the hurricanes, the typhoons, and all.
Okay, sir. Well, I felt that if I do say that global warming or climate change is a deterministic event, people might at least, be a little more conscious about it.
Oh, you want to do like that? People have been shouting on top of their voices about global warming. Nobody cares. You think a little bit of word change here and there might help? No, I don't think so. But yeah, I mean
Well, it wouldn't hurt, right,
that's
sir?
a very popular political discussion that we then can be reserved for someday else. Can you answer the question, Govind? Have you already done that? Yes, you have. Oh, okay. Okay, I'll just go ahead with the answer. So it's an n-dimensional hypervolume. So basically, habitat niche is in Grinnell. What he wanted to say was, this is a particular bird, and the bird lives in only in Shola forest. So the Shola forest is the niche of the bird. So that's the habitat niche. The niche is basically the habitat of the bird, which is the Shola forest. So, and functional niche is basically, oh, I forgot what functional niche is. Basically, the role of the bird. So bird is an insectivorous bird, or bird is a small insect eating understory bird. So those are the functional niche of the bird. That's by Elton. But n-dimensional hypervolume, which is suggested by Hutchinson. So there are these axes of variables like elevation, latitude, mean annual temperature, vegetation density, canopy cover. Like it could be a lot of these variables, and this is just a three-dimensional way of showing it. There could be a fourth variable added. There could be fifth, sixth, seventh. It cannot be showed visually, but yeah, there are several statistical way of showing it, but then all that together forms the n-dimensional. Like over here there's 3 dimension. If you increase, then it will be called the n-dimensional hypervolume. So because volume is 3 dimension, so this would become like more than a volume, so that's hypervolume. So that is how it is. So yeah, the answer is C over here. I hope you got it. It's again in the lecture. People can go through it. I forgot which one. I think Umesh's first lecture. All right. I'll skip this question. Everyone knows the answer, I suppose. Also, the answer is there on the screen. Yeah, 16. Sounds like sci-fi. Yes, it does sound like sci-fi. Sometimes bird ecology can be more scientific than people usually think it is. What I'll do is I'll copy the link of this paper in case people want to read more about this particular paper on the screen. It seemed it is by the paper is by Burivalova, but it's from the same lab that Umesh did his postdoc from. I think postdoc from. So David Wilkov is his name, and very famous bird scientist. So you might want to read the paper, and he comes up with these unique figures. So probably, I'm showing you this because if you read the bird papers nowadays, they're not simple anymore. It's not like you see the figure and you understand what it is. There would be an x-axis, there would be y-axis. The data representation has advanced a lot in the few years, and this is one of those figures. Even I was like stumped by looking at this figure, like what does it mean? So basically the x-axis is time since logging, and the figure shows the effect of time since logging on the abundance of bird species in different feeding groups. Everyone knows what these groups are called, right? They're called the guilds. If you have listened to if you have listened to Umesh's lecture, they are called gills and body mass categories in selectively logged tropical forests, which is true. What it says is, and the y-axis is tricky. Y-axis is not abundance; it's a difference in abundance. So yeah, just think. So difference in abundance would mean that in zero year, the difference is positive would mean that the number has increased. Difference is negative would mean the number has reduced. So for omnivores, do biologists master this level of statistics or do they else? Yes, we have to master this level of statistics. I am sorry to burst your bubble, but yeah, we have to. Some people can collaborate with other statisticians, but generally a lot of these statistics is done by themselves. So over here, as you can see, 0 is this line. Over here also 0 is this line. That is where the number is same as the non-logged forest basically. But when the logging is done and if it's positive, that means the number is increasing. So wherever the line is above 0, that means there's an increase in the number. So frugivore and insectivores have a line below 0. So they generally show that there's a decrease in the number. Wherever there's a positive, the number is positive. So over here you can see that the omnivore and the granivore, the larger body size, the 1000 grams and higher, which is the pink and the yellow, are greater than 0. That means their number have increased initially, then they have come to 0 and then they reduced. Whereas in carnivore, herbivore and others, the pink is below, it's opposite, so they are already negative, whereas the green, which is the smaller body size, they are positive. So they are the herbivores and the frugivores and the insectivores and the carnivores. The green is the smaller body size, so the smaller herbivore, carnivore, frugivore and insectivores are increase in number. So basically the answer is all of the above. You may have to read the paper to understand what I'm talking about. It's quite complicated to explain in like 5 minutes that I have for each question, but it seemed a very interesting paper and I wanted to show the figure. I mean, I was stumped by this figure, like wow, people can go to this extent. I'm sorry, but I hope we can move away from this paper. I've already given the link. Probably you should go through the paper and understand more, but the answer is all of the above. The results of the paper is like all of the above. Larger species of omnivore and granivore responded positively. Then larger species of carnivore, herbivore, frugivore and insectivore responded negatively, but nectarivore and granivore responded positively for a few decades. Later on, after a few decades, their abundance is decreased than the pre-logging levels. So yeah, I know you might have a lot of questions, but we have 2 more questions to finish and then we can say yeah. I'll also add this particular paper to the chat box.
So what is congeneric, sir?
Congeneric is same genus. Conspecific is same species. So if the individuals of the same species, they are called conspecific. Individuals of the same genus is basically, you understand genus, right, Lakshmi? I mean, I don't have to explain, but yeah.
No, yes, sir. Species and genus, I understand.
Yeah.
I didn't separate the word as genus, I forgot.
I mean, that's a term that if you're studying birds or whatever, so you will have to.
Yeah, okay.
Good that I brought this question up, so at least you learned Even if you didn't understand the graph, you'll still learn that there's a word called congeneric and conspecific. So relationship between thermal niche overlap. So niche, we all know, could be hypervolume, whatever that's Govind called sci-fi. So that is the niche, and if they're overlapping, that means the birds use the same kind of habitats, same kind of niches. So the niches are very similar. So the relationship between the overlap and the relative size difference between the congeneric species pair of Himalayan birds. From the graph, what do you suppose the answer is? More hints. So if the x-axis is the relative difference in species sizes in a congener pair, that means 0 would mean that the sizes are same, and 0.6 would mean that sizes are very different. I hope that is simple as can be put. And in the y-axis is congeneric thermal niche overlap. That would mean that 0 would mean that there is a lot of overlap. No, there is a lot less overlap, and higher you go would mean that there is a lot more overlap. That means the niches are more similar for these species. So in east, we have to only focus on the east, the right panel, east panel. So in east, similar size congeners. That means we have to focus on the x equal to 0 and closer to 0. Similar size congeners segregate in a thermal space in whatever winter or summer, and occupied similar thermal space. Segregate would mean that they have separated in that particular season, and a similar thermal space would mean that they have come together in that particular species. Come together would mean that there's an overlap in their niches. So where is the niche overlap happening? Niche overlap means if the niche is overlapping, that means it's greater than 0. It's higher in this y-axis. And there is no overlap would mean that it's 0 and less 0, or it's closer to 0. So the niche overlap is higher in this particular graph. I hope I'm right. In summer, the niche overlap is higher. In winter, the niche overlap is lower. In small, similarly sized congeners. Are people clear? Okay, let's see what the answer is. They are segregated. That means the overlap is not there in winters, and they occupy similar thermal niches in summers. So that's the answer. All right, tough question. Yes, I know, tough question, but yeah.
We'll go through the papers.
Yes. There's a last question for you. Is this the last question? Oh yes, this was the last question. All right. Sorry, there wasn't any more question. I forgot to add that. But yeah, you have both the papers, and this would be the end of the session. I hope it was helpful. All right then.
So you raised the bar.
Jobin, just one question.
Yeah.
What is the best source to learn higher level stats for doing research in
I think you.
ornithology?
There are several books for statistics. Higher level stats is basically so you have some very there are books for statistics for ecologists. You can we generally read papers and we look at the method that they have done, and then we Google it up, and then we understand that particular method. But higher level stat is usually like that. But you start from a lower level stat, and then you know this t-test, your chi-square test and stuff like that, ANOVA. These are the lower level stats that you start with, which is what you get in a book. And then once you have so
basically biostatistics books will help, sir.
Yes, that's the best.
I did have a paper in MSc, sir, for that one semester. I had biostats, but that's a decade ago. So
there is a statistics for dummies also. I mean,
no, because microbiology we had one whole semester for biostatistics.
Yes, Lakshmi, just a second. Abe, you have a question. You have raised your hand.
Sir, I actually have statistics for dummies. Is that useful?
Govind, can you? Abe, go ahead. Sorry.
Hello, sir. I am audible?
Yeah, you are audible.
Sir, I was saying that.
Abe.
मैं हिंदी में बोल सकता हूँ?
हाँ, हिंदी में बोल दीजिए, प्लीज.
हेलो.
हाँ, हिंदी में बोल दीजिए, प्लीज.
सर मैं थोड़ा करियर गाइडेंस चाह रहा था ना. मैंने अभी जस्ट बीएससी ग्रेजुएशन.
अबे रुको करियर गाइडेंस के लिए. रुको करियर गाइडेंस. Sorry, Abe, can you pause the.
He muted.
Oh, he did? Okay. So, career guidance के लिए अभी टाइम नहीं है, 8 बज गए हैं. देखते हैं. I mean, I think we can talk in the last session when probably we'll have less of sorry अभी ये सही समय नहीं है पूछने का. But Govind, do you have a question that is related to the lecture? I mean, whatever, the session?
Well, I have statistics for dummies. I have the book, so would that be useful?
Yes, that is very useful. Any statistics book is useful. You can go ahead. So, Mark, there is no. There might be a lot of books for advanced statistics, but what people generally do in this field is they don't particularly pick a book for advanced statistics and do that. What they do is they obviously are reading through a lot of papers, and there are like statistics already used in those papers. So if it is advanced, they take that particular method, Google about it, read upon it. There would be books. So for example, what I am doing right now is occupancy sampling, and it's called hierarchical modeling. So that's an advanced statistics. So I particularly go for that method itself. So you'll have books for particular methods, if you understand what I mean. There's nothing called advanced stats. I mean, there would be, but yeah.
Understood.
Yeah. So there's a book called Applied Hierarchical Modeling for Ecologists. That's an advanced statistical book that only deals with occupancy, N mixture model, how to come up with occupancy of a bird, what you have sampled, in spaces you have sampled, or how to come up with abundance of or density of birds in the space you have sampled. So yeah. Wildlife requires more discipline than just biology. Yes. That's the gist of it. Yes. All right. It's 8:01, and we should end the session. We can discuss about this thing in the next session as well, if possible. All right. Bye. Goodbye. Good night, people. Hope that is helpful.
Good night, sir.
Yeah.